Humanity had spent centuries searching the universe for intelligent life, believing that one day we would discover an ancient civilization hiding somewhere among the stars. But no one ever imagined that the first impossible discovery would happen beneath our own planet, because more than 12 kilometers below Antarctica, an international drilling project struck something that could not exist. A perfectly smooth metallic sphere larger than a skyscraper buried inside solid rock, that geological analysis claimed was older than Earth itself, older than the solar system, and according to one terrified physicist, possibly older than the universe. Before anyone could understand what they had found, the object activated on its own, sending a pulse through space that traveled faster than light, and exactly 19 minutes later, every deep space observatory detected thousands of unidentified warships changing course toward Earth from every direction, as if the entire galaxy had been waiting for one impossible signal to finally appear. At first, the scientific community refused to believe the dating results because they violated every known law of physics. Yet every independent laboratory reached the same impossible conclusion, as microscopic samples collected from the object's outer shell contained atomic structures that should have decayed billions of years before the universe itself supposedly came into existence, forcing researchers to consider theories that had previously belonged only to speculative cosmology. While military officials immediately sealed the excavation site beneath layers of armed security, believing they had uncovered some forgotten alien relic, unaware that the sphere had never been abandoned at all, but had simply remained dormant for a span of time so vast that entire galaxies had formed and disappeared while it patiently waited beneath the Antarctic ice for a civilization advanced enough to awaken it. The activation lasted less than 3 seconds. Yet, during that brief moment, every electronic system within 1,000 kilometers behaved unpredictably as satellites drifted from their assigned orbits. Atomic clocks lost synchronization. Deep ocean communication cables carried bursts of data that no computer could decode. And astronauts aboard the International Space Station reported seeing a faint ring of blue light surrounding Earth before it vanished without explanation. But the most disturbing discovery came from radio observatories scattered across the planet, because instead of detecting a signal leaving Earth, they identified millions of identical responses arriving simultaneously from distant regions of the Milky Way, suggesting that countless civilizations had instantly recognized the sphere's activation and were now reacting to something humanity had unknowingly unleashed. As governments struggled to contain the discovery, the Antarctic Research Station transformed almost overnight from a scientific excavation into the most heavily guarded location on Earth, surrounded by thousands of military personnel, advanced surveillance systems, and electronic jamming equipment designed to prevent even the smallest piece of information from reaching the outside world. But secrecy quickly became impossible because the sphere itself refused to remain silent, emitting low frequency vibrations every few hours that traveled through the ice sheet and produced strange electromagnetic disturbances detectable by observatories thousands of kilometers away, while researchers working closest to the object began reporting identical dreams despite never discussing them with one another, each describing an endless black ocean filled with stars and a distant metallic structure slowly opening its enormous circular gates, as an unfamiliar voice repeated the same sentence over and over in languages no human had ever spoken. Yet somehow everyone understood exactly what it meant. The message was terrifyingly simple. The lock has been opened. Psychologists initially dismissed the reports as stress-induced hallucinations caused by isolation and exhaustion. But their confidence disappeared after encrypted interviews confirmed that more than 200 scientists from completely different backgrounds had described the same vision using almost identical words, including details that had never appeared in official reports, forcing intelligence agencies to classify the phenomenon as a potential cognitive transmission rather than a psychological condition. While quantum physicists noticed something equally disturbing, because every time the dreams occurred, the sphere's surface displayed faint geometric patterns that changed faster than any camera could accurately record, as though it were processing information at a level beyond conventional computing. And despite being made of an unknown material with no visible seams, engines, or power source, its internal temperature continued rising without generating measurable radiation, violating every principle of thermodynamics known to modern science. Far beyond the solar system, however, humanity's discovery had already triggered consequences no telescope could yet observe. Across thousands of light years, civilizations that had spent entire millennia at war suddenly suspended their conflicts without explanation as enormous battle fleets altered course simultaneously toward a single destination. Merchant empires abandoned profitable trade routes. Ancient religious orders awakened forgotten guardians who had remained dormant for millions of years. Entire planetary defense networks entered emergency readiness, not because they feared humanity, but because they recognized the signal emitted from Antarctica with absolute certainty. To them, it was not simply an activation. It was a warning that should never have appeared. Among those civilizations existed legends older than recorded history describing a machine hidden somewhere inside a young galaxy, protected so completely that eventually even its location became myth, and every version of the legend ended the same way. If the machine ever awakened again, it would mean someone had found the final threshold. On Earth, the first undeniable evidence that something extraordinary was approaching arrived 46 hours after the activation when the James Webb Space Telescope, supported by dozens of military observatories, detected hundreds of gravitational distortions appearing far beyond Pluto. Each distortion expanding before collapsing into perfectly circular openings unlike anything produced by black holes or wormholes predicted by theoretical physics. One after another, enormous vessels emerged from these impossible gateways, some stretching dozens of kilometers in length, while others resembled floating cities surrounded by rotating rings of blue energy. Yet what shocked analysts most was that none of them accelerated toward Earth aggressively. Instead, they formed an immense stationary perimeter around the solar system, as though respecting an invisible boundary that no fleet was willing to cross first. Inside the underground Global Security Council headquarters beneath Geneva, military commanders expected preparations for planetary defense to begin immediately, but the incoming sensor data created complete confusion because instead of detecting a single unified invasion force, they identified hundreds of independent fleets belonging to entirely different civilizations, each broadcasting unique energy signatures, communication frequencies, and propulsion systems unlike any other. Some ships appeared sleek and organic, resembling living organisms drifting through space, while others looked like colossal mechanical fortresses covered in weapons powerful enough to destroy moons. Yet despite their overwhelming firepower, every fleet remained perfectly still, silently observing Earth without firing a single shot. It was as though the galaxy itself had gathered outside humanity's doorstep, waiting for something that had not yet happened. Then, without warning, the sphere beneath Antarctica changed again. The smooth metallic surface slowly separated into thousands of microscopic sections that shifted like moving liquid metal before assembling into an enormous circular symbol glowing with brilliant white light, illuminating the underground chamber so intensely that every electronic camera immediately failed, leaving only analog recording equipment capable of capturing what followed. From the center of the sphere emerged not a weapon, not a machine, but a perfectly detailed three-dimensional map of the observable universe suspended in midair. Every galaxy rotating silently as billions of stars flickered with astonishing precision. At first, researchers believed it was simply a projection, until one astronomer noticed something impossible. The map wasn't displaying the universe as humans currently observed it. It was updating in real time faster than light itself, showing stellar explosions, planetary movements, and gravitational events occurring thousands of light years away long before their light could physically reach Earth. The room fell silent as the realization spread through the scientific team. They were no longer looking at a recording or simulation. Somehow the sphere possessed direct access to reality itself. And just as everyone struggled to comprehend the implications, one small region of the holographic universe suddenly began flashing deep crimson. Then another, then hundreds more. Entire sectors of the galaxy were disappearing one after another, not exploding, not collapsing, but simply vanishing from existence, as though pieces of reality were being erased by an invisible force moving steadily toward the Milky Way. And for the first time since the object had awakened, a calm synthetic voice echoed through the chamber in flawless human language. Extinction event detected. Estimated time until contact: 127 Earth days.